Yo.
What up, though?
I got to talk. I got to tell what I feel. I got to talk about my life as I see it.
All right, then. It's time for you to bring it to the table.
Turn up your radio wherever you at. We about to bring it.
Street Beat.
Yeah.
With Tony B.
For the next hour, Tony B will give you a chance to tackle local, national, and international issues that affect your community.
Street Beat.
Street Beat. With
Tony B.
Good morning, almost afternoon, and welcome to this week's edition of Street Beat. Street Beat is your way of being in touch with the beat of the city. It's me, your host, Tony B. My guest joining me this morning will be Mr. Peobo Bryson. Boy, it's been a busy time here at Rainier Avenue Radio. Thank everyone for celebrating Earth Day with us all week long last week. Earth deserves more than a day, so we did it big. We celebrated Earth Day Monday through Friday with panel discussions, lectures. It was just a phenomenal event, and we're going to give you a recap so that you can go back and take a look and check out all of the different environmental justice panels that were on. They talked about everything: air quality, water quality, you name it. We discussed it. And it was discussed during that environmental justice. And then on Saturday, Kevin Little was here at the theater and did a big performance. So just a busy week last week. We're back at it again. Excited that Mr. Bryson, who's coming to Jazz Alley in Seattle on Thursday, is here actually right now with us. So why don't we just stop messing around and bring on the needs no introduction. Two-time Grammy Award-winning singer, songwriter, vocalist, the amazing Mr. Peobo Bryson. Mr. Bryson.
Tony B, what's up, mate? You all right?
I'm fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you.
Well, just excellent to have you here. So many things to talk with you about, so many things that I want to share. I know that you've probably been asked every question in the book.
Maybe a time or two.
But it is just great to have you here in Seattle. The last time you were here, I was in the audience. And so I'm just going to start off, Mr. Bryson, with some basic information. Again, there's a laundry list of songs and hits and different things that we can talk about over the length of your career. But what I want to know is, how did you get started in this industry? We know the voice. Were your parents musical? Was it church? How did you get started in this industry?
I grew up socially unacceptable.
Oh.
Yeah, so I wasn't invited to like church choirs or school choir. As a matter of fact, school choir in high schools, what did he say? He said, let me quote him verbatim, "We don't need your kind."
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
There was that. So it was. So my whole academic career was a comedy of errors.
That is really, I gotta say, surprising. That just the quality, the uniqueness of your voice. I was ready for you to tell me, "Oh, I've been singing since I was 2 years old."
Well, no, I've been singing a long time, but I have my mother to credit for that, because she was like a great music lover. She was, as most women in her generation were, she was totally in love with Billy Eckstine. So she was like, music was her thing, and she had the most beautiful voice I've ever heard, but could not sing in front of anybody but her children. Yeah, she didn't have that thing, but she had a great talent, and she was she loved to go to concerts. My hometown had a 6,000 seater.
Mm-hmm.
That meant that everybody that was in the music industry would at some point find themselves on that stage, and my mother was not going to be denied. So, and they were smart back then. Economically, they would have one orchestra play for every artist, and it would be a plethora of artists. So you would have Jackie Wilson and Sam Cooke on the same program.
Wow.
Original Drifters and Little Anthony and the Imperials. And then you would have, like I said, the Original Drifters. And then you would have, I saw the first Ike and Tina Turner review. I got to say, just everything, you know, what I saw was my mother had to take my older sister and myself. We had two other siblings, but they couldn't go. They were too young, and my mother had to take us with her. So we got a chance to see all that stuff live and up close and personal. And what I saw was I watched music and those artists of that day transcend politics, segregation, racism, bigotry, religion, and every other thing, and bring all those people in attendance together. And this was the height of segregation in the South, so we sat wherever the white people did not.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but I would watch Jackie Wilson create a riot. He was the first person I ever saw throw himself off a stage and be caught. And he would create a riot where the black women were concerned, who were just draped around the front of the stage, and they would tear his clothing off just to get a piece of it. I'd never seen anything quite like it, but then he would go back, change clothes, come back, pin spotlight, a stool, take his jacket off, throw it over his shoulder, and sing Danny Boy and make the white audience weep.
Wow.
I never seen that's something that powerful in my life. And I thought to myself as a small boy, what a powerful thing in the hands of the right person that has the right idea about it and uses it in the right way. What if, it begs the question, not a judgment, but it begs the question of what if Rick James had actually said, don't fire it up?
My guest again, Mr. Peobo Bryson. You talk about the music rising above all of these various things, but you are also, and folks may not know this, you are also a very conscious person with the work that you do in regards to community.
Oh, absolutely. You have to be in terms of culture, and the idea that our culture is disposable is still a phenomenon to me that still exists on any level at all. But it's, if you don't chronicle it yourself and you don't talk about it, and I don't understand why certain cultural history is not given its due. I mean, we'll talk about anybody else's culture and its importance to humanity moving forward, but we don't talk about ours. And I'm still not sure what that whole thing is about, and I don't get what people are so afraid of.
You know, I would like to ask you a little bit about growing up during that time, but first I'm just going to name off a bunch of the hits, because I got it.
Okay, well, let me try to answer your original question more succinctly, because I don't want to get past it. Okay. Some people ease into this life and this industry, and some people are required to kick the door in. Me, I kind of kick the door in. You know, you have to reach that point in your life where you will not be denied, and where you have to live and die by your own faith in yourself and what you believe in.
Well, I'm definitely going to come back to that, Mr. Bryson.
But name the hit. And look at their hits. I only say that. I only call them that because they hit people a certain way.
Uh-huh.
It's like, and it again, it goes back to to what we just talked about. Uh, I was I'm one of those people that I still go grocery shopping.
Mm,
I
mm.
have to go to the cleaners. you know, for me, it reminds me that my feet are on the ground. I stay grounded that way.
Yeah.
So I'm in Publix, and it's my Publix. I mean, once you go in there and they know you, and you know them, you ask about their lives, and then you share, just normal stuff. So when I was in there, and even though I'm walking around shopping, on the Muzak channel, it's me playing.
Yeah.
Right? And then this little blue-haired white lady I think she's following me. I'm trying to figure out, is she following me? What is this? So I just duck down a random aisle, and sure enough, there she comes with her little cart.
The theater.
Finally, she stops and about 5 feet past me, and she turns around, looks at me, and goes, "Mr. Bryson?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, she looks around twice and gets a little bit closer to me, and then really close, and says, "I am so ashamed to tell you what I was doing in the backseat of a car to your music."
Oh boy.
What do you say to that? So, and then there's another time I'm in there, and I'm with my brother-in-law, who's quite handsome, by the way. My sister's brother's quite handsome. So, and I live in Atlanta. So I was in the grocery store, and suddenly nobody was talking to me. The people that talk to me every time I'm in there, suddenly they're standoffish, and we're in the checkout line, and I'm trying to figure out, what's this bad vibe? I mean, what happened? And suddenly it dawns on me when I look at the National Enquirer while I'm in the checkout line, why they might be a little bit frosty towards me. And I go, "Have you met Tanya's brother?" And the checkout counter, the checkout lady goes, "It's the brother. It's a brother." They thought I was cheating on my wife, and this was a guy. I mean, it's Tanya's brother, because they know my wife's name, right? They know my wife. She shops in there too. But this is reality. This is life. That's what it's like. That's the reality of it. I learned early to take myself seriously, but not too seriously. It's life, and I put my pants on the same way as every other person does. That's the way I look at it. It's I should probably. I'm finally writing the book. I've finally written the book. We're fine tuning it now and all that stuff, but there are some perceptions that people have about this industry, and about what's real and what's not real. And social media, as it is in this moment in real time, does not help. There's so much misinformation out there. There's so many false narratives. It's that nobody knows which rabbit hole to go down at this particular point. Just choose one. It's all pretty bad, and it's all based on information that's gained ad nauseum. It's like something's been talked about to death, and you want to regurgitate. You suddenly decide that you want to wake up today and regurgitate your opinion into something that nobody's come to the conclusion about that's adequate or accurate at all. So you got a lot of that. People just talking to hear themselves talk because they think that that's what they're doing. That's what being an influencer is. That's what being having a media presence is. It's having an opinion about everything.
Well, I have to talk about some of the songs that you have, because I'm sure that woman wasn't the only person who has some backseat memories from Peobo Bryson. So I'm just gonna name a few of them so that we can get, because there are some. First of all, Feel the Fire.
See, no, let me tell you something about that. It's there's such a misconception about that. That was about I was living in this apartment where I was writing these songs. This was an apartment I lived in when I realized I was actually getting ready to make it, because I'd had a premonition about it. And I woke up one night in tears, and my living girlfriend at the time, Vicky, just turned to me and looked at me and go, "You all right?" I said, "Sure, I'm all right, but you just don't understand. It's getting ready to happen. This thing it's a runaway train. It can't be stopped now." Mm. And she called Georgia Baptist. Those are the guys with the long white jacket for you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. She thought I was having an episode. 2 weeks later, I was plotting signing with leaving my then record company and signing with Capitol Records 2 weeks later.
Wow.
I just out of the blue. I mean, so I was sitting at a Fender Rhodes right in the window that the sliding glass doors that overlook the courtyard, and thunderstorm came up while I was writing, and I was just writing the composition, and thunderstorm came up, and a lightning strike hit a tree right outside and split it in half, and I opened the door, and I could feel the heat from it. I could feel the fire from it. It was still smoldering. It was. I took that as a sign of providence. You know, I took that as providence. I didn't take it as it was. So it wasn't feeling the fire. It was about feeling the fire of my own faith and all that. It was about something totally different from what people thought it was. They used it for another reason. Did I mean for it to be sexy? In a way, I did. But isn't faith sexy in itself?
Wow. That is a phenomenal story, because I can tell you right now, just mentioning Feel the Fire, for those who know, right now they're going on YouTube and say, "Oh, I got to hear this. I haven't heard this
right,
in a while." Right. And for those who don't know, go back and listen to the song Feel the Fire. Again, I'm just going to name off of Reaching for the Sky. I'm so into you.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm so into you. Only 3 people liked it. My oldest.
Oh, come on now.
Listen, when I wrote it and I sang it for somebody, 3 people liked it. My manager, David Franklin, liked it. My older sister liked it, and I liked it. that was it. That was it. And it turns out to be my first #1. How about that?
Wow. Let me ask you about that. I'm gonna name off some more songs. I keep saying I'm gonna name off some songs because I have. If ever you're in my arms again, Can You Stop the Rain? Without You, and then there's the Grammy Award-winning song Beauty and the Beast, A Whole New World. Wow.
You don't know that you're ever going to have the opportunity to even sing a song like that, let alone record one. It's one of those things. Again, let's call that what it is. There's a lot of this in my life, and let's call it what it is: divine providence. You can call it what you want to call it, but I know what it is. It's certainly not me. I don't take any of the credit for that. I think that a portion of me, and that would be my faith, could take a fair chunk for that, but not me. These are not my skills. These are only skills like these are only borrowed. You get them when you while you have your time here on this good earth, and when you're gone, they go to someone else. That's the way I look at it. It's like, but for God to bless me with those songs and that impact that those songs had, you can't script that. You can't make that happen. You have to live it, and it has to unfold on its own, in its own time, in its own sequence.
My guest again, the legend, Mr. Peobo Bryson, performing here in Seattle Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at Jazz Alley. Now, I mentioned I was going to go back to what you were saying before, because, like I said, there's, I don't know what I can ask you that you haven't already been asked, and that our audience may not know. But you talked before about just during this conversation about socially unaccepted, and then one of the things that we do here at Rainier Avenue Radio is we hyper focus on history, and so.
I noticed that. I mean, that's why I brought some of those issues up. I figured out what you were. I figured out what your social consciousness is, and that helps me know what I can say and what I cannot say.
Mm-hmm.
So, you got to try to stay politically correct and all that, but I'm not always. I'm not. I'm old and I'm unapologetic. At that age where. I remember when my mother became what I am now. My sister would call me and complain because my mother would have these very young arguments, and these very young issues, and she was just testy. She wasn't always that way, but in her latter years she was. And my sister would call and complain, and finally I just stopped my sister. I said, Agnes, stop. And she said, what? I said, do you know? I said, what does an 800-pound gorilla do? He said, what's that have to do with our conversation? I said, answer my question. What does an 800-pound gorilla do? And she said, I don't know. I said, anything it wants. It's an 800-pound gorilla. What's your mother? Your mother's an 800-pound gorilla. Let her be that. She's earned it. Let her be that.
Wow.
And she said, that's the first time she got it, and I don't think they had another argument.
Wow. Growing up when you did, can you share the experience? Because as we get further and further and further away from that time, society thinks differently, acts differently, behaves differently, and sometimes forget.
Let's put it where it is.
Okay.
Let's start with. If you think you're free, if you're of our culture, if you're of the Black culture, and you think that you're free or you have all your rights, you are absolutely and totally delusional.
Say that.
That's the first thing you have to understand. It's like the Constitution is a work of art. It's a great piece of paper, and it's a great philosophy, and it makes this country great. Matter of fact, it may be the only thing that does. And I've never had it. I've never had all of them. My rights are my rights until I get stopped on a 2-lane highway at 2:00 in the morning. Then my rights are whatever that person that stops me says they are. I immediately don't have access to all of them. I become Trayvon Martin. I become Sandra Bland. If I'm smoking in my car and he asks me to put my cigarette out, even though it's my car, I might get drugged through the window as she did. Or if I'm walking through Bensonhurst and I look like I'm looking for a white girl, I might turn up someplace not alive. It's so. I'm convinced that the Constitution is such a fine piece of work that the men we thought wrote it did not. I think something higher may have done that, because it's too human, it's too fair. I'm sorry, it's just too fair and too human and too right. When we can't get the 10 Commandments right, and all we have to do, and they're rigged for us to win.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't do that. You keep 3 of them, you keep all of them. I don't. For me, I drank out of the white water fountain in defiance, and I put my life at risk many a time so that rappers could say whatever they want to say.
Yeah.
so that you could have a platform on the radio program that suits your intelligence, suits your concerns and mine, and not feel one way or another about it, be indifferent about it, and be okay with that because it's your right to do so and our right to pursue it. I fought for those things, and what you have now is it's like the metaphor that I use is, say for instance, somebody in the neighborhood, in the hood, needs a car to get to work. And if they had a car to get to work and get back and pick up their children, that their life would be a lot better, a lot easier, and a lot more successful, and they would be a lot more economically sound.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you give her a beat up Toyota, used, 4 years old, she's going to treat that thing like she's going to wash it and keep it clean and all that. Give her a Bentley. Come back a week later, it's going to have spinners on it and McDonald's trash all in the back.
Mm.
That's just the way it is, because the reason why is it's a simple thing about being a human being. She didn't earn it.
Mm.
She didn't earn it because she doesn't know how to appreciate it. She can't appreciate what it is. It's because in her mind, it's still just a Toyota, isn't it? It's 4 years old.
Yeah. I appreciate you having this conversation with me, Mr. Bryson. I mean, it's easy. The low-hanging fruit would have been to talk about all of your successes and all of your hits and your songwriting and your amazing voice. Thank you for sharing your background and your beliefs and your principles.
It's not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy thing to overcome when your vice principal meets you in the hallway and you confront him and you tell him that, listen, I'm ready to do something that's not in my nature to do. I'm going to capitulate because you have something I need, and there's a process that you use. It's a cookie cutter idea for me, which goes against my nature, but because I don't want to be anybody else. I just want to be me. But I'm ready to do that. I just want you to know personally that you won't have any more problems out of me. I will not ask questions. I will not suggest to my American history teacher that he borrow some of my books. I will not do that any longer. I mean, I won't. I won't do that, and I won't feel badly when someone looks at me that's supposed to be here to help me get an education, looks at me and treats me like they're a 350-pound linebacker, and I got to go through them to get an education.
Mm.
I don't want to. No more problems out of me. He turned around and looked at me and said, "Listen, why don't you just leave? And on your way out, why don't you stop by and get your little brother and take him with you?"
Wow. Wow.
I said these words to him. His name was A.A. Richburg. I said, at some point, this is what we call a quintessential moment, life-changing. I said, I could either die a swift death right here and stay dead, or I can be inspired by what you just said to me and become as great as I can be, as great as anybody's ever been.
Mm.
I said, for me, I'm inspired. And at some point in the not so near future, you are going to have to apologize to me. I didn't say that. I said, you're going to have to kiss my ass.
Mm.
And in that, when that moment comes, I will remind you of this moment.
Mm.
And when that moment came, he was the head of the Sigmas in our era.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly, when after I became Peobo Bryson, Sigmas wanted to make me an honorary Sigma,
Mm-hmm.
and he had to present me with the.
Well, I'm a Sigma.
Well, good. I mean, well, no, it's not against you guys, and it's not
Uh-huh.
the fraternity itself. It's just, it was just him and what he thought of me.
Yeah.
So when the moment came, My old track coach, basketball coach, looked at me and said, "Don't do it, Bo. Don't do it. If you do that, you'll only prove him right." And I said, I made him believe that I was going to do it anyway. But when I came to that moment, I said, I want to thank A. Richburg for his inspiration and allowing me and inspiring me to achieve this moment. I have him to thank personally for this honor. Thank you. And took the honor and left. But you don't, you either rise above it or you die by it. And revenge is, as you well know, you got to dig two graves.
Mm.
If you pursue your enemy with revenge in mind, dig two graves, as Sun Tzu says. One for yourself and one for your enemy. Because what you do to him is already done to you. You can't do that. That's the whole issue with what's going on in the Middle East at this point.
My guest again, the legend, the iconic voice, the songwriter, Mr. Peobo Bryson in Seattle, Thursday,
But
Friday,
let me
Saturday. I just got to plug you.
I know.
Sunday.
Let me say this. But if you're patient and you have faith, all these things come to bear. Everything goes 360. I haven't always gotten my due from my hometown. As a matter of fact, I hired a background vocalist from my hometown. She got front page. I never had. So no, I mean it's a thing, but now there's a Peobo Bryson Boulevard
Wow.
that goes all the way past the building that my mother, my sister, and I worked in. There was that where I went to school from every day. There's a mural that's a permanent mural that's about to go up, and you may now call me Dr. Bryson.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, it's the honorary doctorate probably means more than as you would well imagine. It means a great deal.
Yeah.
At this particular point, and I'm going to be in Seattle at Jazz Alley, while my wife, my daughter, and my little boy will be accepting that from me this Saturday.
Wow. Awesome.
In that, I mean, it's you either get bitter or you get better, and bitterness does not make you better. You pursue. I've been in pursuit of truth and excellence my whole life. I make no apologies for it. It's when I see Cat Williams, I am actually going to bow in front of him and I'm going to apologize because I did not know who he was. I now, and when I'm wrong about something, which is not that often, for real, not that often because I'm old. I don't make that many mistakes like that again. I'm not young. I don't have that same kind of energy and that same kind of blind side. But that one caught me off guard. It was like looking at him is like looking at a version of myself. And it's like I read 8 hours every day. It's like you amass that kind of that magnitude of information just simply because you want it and you're in pursuit of it and you want to know and you want to understand and you want to be able to believe and to be able to keep your faith with reading all these things that are controversial. I mean, I started reading books like when I was a kid. I started reading books like a book called Psycho Cybernetics. Why? But you have to. And I the book that changed my life was or shaped my career was reading Sammy Davis's autobiography. It was published in what, 67? Yeah. Yes, I can. How he looked at it and how he wanted to be perceived shaped that's why I end up singing songs like Beauty and the Beast and A Whole New World or If Ever You're in My Arms Again, which I sang every day for 8 hours for 11 days because he wanted it to be as straight as possible.
Mm.
It's what you do. You can either switch that, or it's one of those things when you find yourself trapped in a recording booth with the great Julie Andrews, and you don't know her, you're just meeting her for the first time, and she thinks that you have dialogue with her, and you don't know that you do. It's one of those moments that I'm a guy from Greenville, South Carolina. I'm trapped in a recording booth with Julie Andrews, and the Hollywood Bowl Orchestra is outside playing live, and and I'm going to be singing live, and she's got her dialogue to do live, and she finishes her dialogue. The orchestra starts. She finishes her dialogue. She turns to me and extends her hand, and as if she wanted me to say something. I said, "I'm sorry, are you waiting on me to say something?" And she said, "You're Loon Tar, darling." And I'm going, "Oh, who?" I'm a black guy from Greenville, South Kakalaki. I'm trapped in a recording booth with Julie Andrews with the Hollywood Bowl Orchestra outside, and we're recording video and audio simultaneously. And she turns to me and, "You want me to turn into a 14-year-old Siamese teenager right here, right now?" She looks at me and says, "Do you need a minute?" Of course I need a minute, right? Hello, boy. Oh, go away. Come back. You got stuff on your face. Go, move away. I know it's just donuts. We're going there and glaze them. I'm doing an interview.
It's just donuts, huh?
Yeah. So she looks at me, and 60 seconds later, not a second more, she turns to me and said, "You ready?" Go, sure. I crack up every time I listen to that thing and I hear that dialogue. I didn't know I had any dialogue at all. Nobody mentioned it to me.
Mm-hmm.
But you either become a 14-year-old Siamese teenager, or you die swift and stay dead. It's that simple. Me, I became a Siamese teenager. That's what you do. But that's part of the natural and inherent resilience of our culture, because we've had to adapt so many times. We have to adopt because we have to survive. We've had to do that. It's nothing new, is it?
Wow. My guest again, Mr. Peobo Bryson. It is so wonderful and unexpected to have this type of conversation with you. And I really appreciate you, sharing yourself this way. And again, I'm thinking, wow, musically, he's probably said everything, a few hundred times.
but life happens and life goes on. You're either a part of it or you're not. I've been able to give some things back, and I couldn't be more grateful to Greenville, South Carolina at this particular point, South Carolina in general. I couldn't be more grateful to them for giving me my flowers while I'm still here.
Yeah.
It's postmortem is postmortem, man. I'm not. I really can't enjoy it. Then I'm sorry. That's little Peobo. That was just in the camera frame.
Oh, okay.
And he's a 2.5 better version of me.
All right.
What we have is you have to understand something. When I took the IQ test at 11, above 38. You can call it whatever you want to call it. I'm not trying to say that I was Stephen Hawking.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not saying that or anything like it. But what it is, and my wife is a very practical person. She figured it out. She says not that one person is smarter than another person. It's just that some people's memories are better. Their recall is better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's true. I found out that my son and I have something called mnemonic memory. Mm-hmm. Kind of like a photogenic memory, but it's not quite the same principles. Similar, but not quite the same. And he's like a 2.5 better version of me. I taught myself to read when I was 4, taught himself to read when he was 3. I have relative pitch. He has perfect pitch. You either have it or you don't. And he has uh, a fearlessness that I did not have at his age. He's absolutely fearless. I stuck a microphone in his face. He was 3 years old, sang a Moana song a cappella in front of 2,000 people. Who cares? He didn't care. It's that's what he is, what he does. My daughter is a very accomplished person, and a very accomplished person in education, and particularly special ed and adult education. She's only a couple hours from defending her own dissertation. So it's always been there. My little boy's 6 now. He reads like a 12-year-old. It's just who he is and what he is. It's not that he's special. It's just he has a great memory, and he can figure things out for himself. I mean, some people can, some people not as well. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
And
that's a wonderful thing to have,
isn't it? Just, if you use it well, to be self-education is a meticulous and curious process. It's what are you filling yourself with, and how broad is that spectrum, and what are your true philosophical beliefs, and what are you trying to find? Are you trying to find, or are you influenced by ridiculous things like people come up with a philosophy, like, for instance, Ian Rand or something like that, where objectivism, where the basic philosophy is your primary mandate is your own happiness, forget everybody else. So you can't be part of the collective and do that. The thing what I love about being Black the most is that if I love the surprises on people's faces when they figure out that you're not what they think that you are. Yeah. That's a moment for me. It's like a woman figuring out that you were a better person than she was. It's like that the look on her face in that moment is priceless, because it doesn't come very often, because we feel it that as men we feel it that so often. So it's such a unique occurrence. But I think what I like the most is if someone were to come to me and come to us and say, you know what, I'm going to own up to everything that I've ever done to you, and I'm going to hold myself accountable for it, and I want us just to start all over from scratch day one. Right? Can we do that? Can you forgive me, and can we start over? I don't think there's any Black person that would not say yeah. I think that's a kind of inherent decency and goodness, and an inherent human trait that reflects an evolved human being. I basically separate all sentient beings into two categories: people and human beings. So human beings are capable of evolving, and they are constantly evolving. That's what the evolutionary process is all about, right? People, on the other hand, are sullen, stuck in yesterday, stuck in an hour ago, or they're jealous, they're insecure. That's what people are. It's like the moment you figure out that love was not your tormentor, nor was you its victim. Your choices were. It had nothing. Love didn't do anything. Love don't love nobody. Love don't have to. Love is love. It doesn't have to do anything. It doesn't have jealousy. It doesn't have. It doesn't do jealousy. It doesn't betray. Love tells the truth all of the time. And that's why I write about it so much. That's why I've written about it. I can write about it for the rest of my life and still not repeat myself, because it's like Sting said something in a line. What is it? Said there's nothing that could happen in any day that love couldn't cure in the blinking of an eye.
Mm.
I was like, and on our worst days, there will still be love in the world, and that's the thing that it's the only thing that could give us hope at this particular point. I mean, it's that there's, in other words, someone reminds us, and I like to hope that my music on some level reminds us there ain't nothing in the world that can happen that love can't cure.
Mm.
And that's a big piece of something. And then that starts with love of self. You got to be able to love you. And I don't need validation for my existence from anybody else but me. And I don't need to get close to anything but God. That's just me.
My guest again, Dr. Peobo Bryson. You can say, see what my producer made sure to put that up there.
I can actually say that now.
But yes, this is the one and only Peobo Bryson, where you remember all of the amazing songs and hits, the incredible voice. Again, at Jazz Alley this Thursday, this Friday, this Saturday.
You know what, Mr. Tony B?
Yes.
Mr. Ben, I still love what I do. I still love performing. You have to love it to do it, and to do it well, you must love it. I've acquired over the years a group of people I met at Jazz Alley, or a group of academics, and we communicate all the time randomly, and we ask all kinds of questions of each other. And one of the things they were asking me was, who are these new niggas? I'd say, you're asking me? You guys are the academics, you tell me. He said, no, you got your pulse on it. We can't speak on it. You got your pulse in a different place. It's easy to give up, and it's easy to think of yourself as disenfranchised and all that kind of stuff. It's also just as easy to think positive of yourself and to give yourself a path out, a path forward that's not so negative. A friend of mine who was a beautiful woman, but an extreme academic. I was totally enamored with her, and I wrote a lot of songs in the early days about her. But she scared me half to death. She's the one that made me move out of my hometown. She said, if you're not careful, you will live and die your life right here in this town. You'll be a big fish in a little pond. You have got to gather the courage at some point to move away from this, to find the thing that you're looking for. You won't find it here. Scared me half to death. Of course, not only moved 143 miles, but it was far enough.
I have to share a story with you before we go out of time here. See, I've met you before.
I thought so. I was going to ask you that, and I was like, wait a minute. There's something. What is it?
About 40 years ago, you performed in Seattle at the Paramount Theater.
Paramount, that's correct.
And the Paramount Theater, and my band, which was called Teleclear, opened for you, and we were so thrilled and happy to be open for Peobo Bryson. And at one point during the performance, I glanced over to the side of the stage, and you were watching us. And after our performance, you came back and you congratulated us, and you told us how you enjoyed our. And to this day, Mr. Bryson, that means the world to each of us. There were 4 of us on that stage today that we always talk about. Peobo Bryson watched us and came back. And I don't know if you remember that.
You want to know why? Because you guys were throwing it down, and you needed encouragement at that particular point, because you were throwing it down. and you just hadn't gotten the thing that you needed to. Everybody has to have the one thing that happens for them that changes everything, and that's got to do with the fates itself. It doesn't have anything. You were meant to be doing what you're doing now because you're dispensing information and you're sharing information. Your platform opens up dialogue that must be done. See, and think about the perilous times that we live in, politically, socially, economically, war-wise. It's nothing comes from violence. We know that. I mean, and that's the thing about that's always been honorable about this thing that we do, this music, this thing that you're still involved in, you're still doing it, you're still using that same platform that we talked about, and you know why I do it now. So you know that I'm a part of what that regimen was. Yeah. Being in the room in a place like Greenville, South Carolina, when the first concept of what being Black was going to be, you're in that room and you have something to say because you've been someplace, you've seen this, you've seen that, you've lived in this place, and you've traveled around the world a bit at that particular point. Being in a room that will help decide, determine what Black should be and what direction it should go in. We don't even have anything like that room at this particular point. I mean, that room doesn't exist at this particular point. I don't know when our culture decided that we had reached some kind of plateau. I don't know what that plateau is. I'm still striving. I see you still are too. Otherwise, you'd be doing something else. I'm still committed to the same things that I was always committed to. And that you either have an inherent sense of fairness, you either have the courage to love those that don't love you, or you don't. And I'm all about all of that. That's who I am. That's what the music is about. It's, my wife is British, and I'll end up in a British pub with the lads, and I'm the only spook in the room. That's not fun. It's not unusual. So, but then my pretend racist friend there turns around, looks at me, and goes, "What is a nigga anyway?" I look at him and go, "Well, Steve, I came to England on this trip with no other thought in mind but answering that question for you." and he steps back a minute. I said, "The first thing you need to understand about that word is that anybody can be one." And to a person in the pub, everybody made the O shape with their mouths. And in England, that's a different question than any place else. They actually wanted to know what I had to say about it because they knew I was not one. So you have to put all that in perspective to be able to answer that question from an objective standpoint, to be objective about it in any way, shape, or form. So you gotta. If not, you miss an opportunity for them to understand. So when he understood that he could be one, that I could turn around and call him one. It's suddenly understanding takes place, and you know why that's a bad question, and you know why it's offensive. You know who you are and who that person is that you're talking to in a different way. Because it's certainly not me you're talking about when you say that word. Yeah, it got nothing to do with me. I'm a black man. That's what I'm a man. I'm that. I'm the same as you are in that way. So any of us can be that. And then that implies that all of us are the same without actually saying it. You don't have to defend it. Certain truths, inalienable truths, don't have to be defended. And if you find yourself defending those, it's an exercise in futility.
Mr. Bryson, I'm going to give away a pair of tickets
Give up. Do that. Let me tell you something. When you come to see me, uh, I learned something from Cicely Tyson of all people.
Uh-huh.
I asked her to come and look at my program, and she said, and I was on that night like I was at the Paramount that night,
Uh-huh.
and she was. I said, so what did you think? And she said, yeah. I said, wait a minute. Did I just get bitch slapped by Cicely Tyson? So I said, what do you mean? And she said, well, you had them and you didn't do anything with them. I said, did I just get the second bitch slap? And now you have to understand that her bitch slap was with the truth.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, so I made some adjustments to my program and asked her to come back and look again. She came back and looked again. She said, I said, what do you think? She said, well, I've always thought of you as a forward thinker. I know that you're well-traveled and well-read. And I've always thought of you in the highest regard where intellect is concerned. Was I wrong? Oh, snap. Is that the third one? And like, so, and she said, okay, look, I'm not going to waste any more of my time, and I'm not going to allow you to waste any more of yours. I'm just going to tell you, they're waiting on you to tell them what to do.
Mm.
Well, you're a musician, you're a performer, you've been that, you know what that is, and you know she was telling the truth.
Mm.
I was terrified to ask too much of my audience.
Mm.
They showed up, and I didn't want to ask them to do too much. I was afraid that they wouldn't show up the next time if I tasked them too much.
Mm.
Now that was in the back of my head. I didn't know I was thinking it, but that was my subconscious thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I didn't want to bother them. Let them have fun on their own any way they can find fun while I'm working. That's not performing. If you come to Jazz Alley, you will get all of me. And if you think that you're going to sit there in your finery and not have to do anything, again, it's not going to happen. Don't blame me. Blame Cicely. Because she made me do it. I don't mind talking to somebody. I think that when if you're old enough to have something significant to say, and it could impact somebody's life in a positive way, then you talk about it. You talk about how you feel, so that people understand that you're no different from them. If you feel, after you watch me work, if you see me passing in the street, if you don't feel like you can invite me to lunch, then I haven't done my job.
Mm. Well, we're going to give a couple of people right now an opportunity to partake.
Well, I wanted to do that. I wanted to set that up. And just understand what you're going to get. You're going to get a lot. You know, you get me unplugged and unencumbered. That's the way I am. As I said, I'm old enough to have become unapologetic about anything. You know, it's like, I think that age really turns around 60,
mm-hmm.
but I'm way past that. So I'm way past that. So I'm really unapologetic, but I am respectful always.
Well, this is what you're gonna have to do if you want to be in there to see Peobo Bryson. Now you can pay, but if you want to win tickets, I'm not just gonna give them to you. I'm gonna make it pretty easy, but this is what you got to do. All right. Give us a call at the radio station, 206-290-9685, 206-290-9685. All you have to do is tell me 3 people that Peobo Bryson has performed duets with. That's all you have to do. And you're going to get tickets to the Thursday performance. I'm going on Friday, but you'll get tickets to the opening night performance. That's all you have to do. I'm going to say it one more again, and then I'm not going to say it anymore because I know the phone started line 206-290-9685, Rainier Avenue Radio. Just tell me 3 of the artists that Mr. Peobo Bryson, Dr. Bryson, has performed duets with. Oh, he's given the phone number to the producer. I wanted him to have to remember, but that's okay. See, you're getting all kind of help here. We want to get folks with these tickets after having this interview with you.
Well, there are 49 of them to choose from.
Oh boy, see the phone is blowing up already. Mr. Bryson, it has been a pleasure.
No, can you talk to me again when you were doing your thing? That program that you announced that they announced earlier.
The environmental justice.
Yes.
Yes.
I'd like to join in some of those chats.
Oh, that would be awesome. It is something, and at the end of the day, it affects everyone, Mr. Bryson, and I'm sure you know this, but blacks are catching hell for lack of awareness about environmental justice. We are not born predisposed to be asthmatic. We are not predisposed to be diabetic. We are not predisposed to have heart conditions. It is our environment that causes those things.
And if you're not doing something daily that counteracts that, then you're gonna fall victim to it. That's just my wife shoves some green thing in my face every 5 minutes. It's like I remember when I would take a break on stage, and you could have Coke and Jack or whatever you were having. You want to know what it is now? A hydration multiplier. I'm just saying, it's our environment is killing us. I mean, we put in. I mean, she talks about this and she does the research, and where there are certain things we don't do, and we used to do, we don't do anymore, and when you cut things out to try to minimize the effects of what's going on. People don't. The bean counters say that there's too many of us on this planet. That means that there is some kind of culling going on.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not careful, your number could come up in that culling. If you're not made aware, you got to be aware of your environment and what it does to you every single day.
Well, I would love to have Dr. Bryson be part of this ongoing. Like I said, Earth Day was one day, April 22nd. We decided, that's not how we're going to get down. Earth deserves more than a day. So we did 5 days of panel discussions, lectures, workshops, to really, take a holistic, view of what this thing called environmental justice is.
The last call I had, I used 0 pharmaceuticals. My wife kept shoving this shot thing she makes in my face, and I'd be darned if it didn't do the job. So it's again, and then what you buy things in, and what you throw away, and how you throw it away, all of that stuff. I mean, recycling's a pain, but it's an absolute necessity. It's indispensable.
Yeah. We have just one Earth. This is it to live on.
I'm just saying. So, did you give the tickets away yet?
My phone is blowing up. I have to I'm about to give them away. I want to give you an opportunity for final words here before we get off the air. Again, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for the conversation. We look forward to seeing you in Seattle at Jazz Alley on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And it's just been a great conversation. I'm gonna have to give these tickets away, but I want to give you an opportunity for final words. Anything that you'd like to say, specifically, hopefully, to our Seattle audience and the surrounding areas and communities that are going to come see you.
Seattle's a place that I've always liked, and in terms of places to move to in America, Seattle and Atlanta were 1 and 2 at one point.
Wow.
Oh yeah, believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah, and so it's a great city, that it always has been. It's got the same issues as any metropolitan city has. I mean, it's the same issues. I was sitting outside the hotel in the parking lot on a stoop near the sidewalk, and a homeless lady asked me for a light. and I lit her cigarette. I didn't give her my lighter, and I think that offended her in some way, shape, or form because she had a red canvas roller bag and a big brown paper bag with something heavy in it. And the next thing I know, she had swung around and hit me square between the eyes with the bag.
Whoa.
Oh, I couldn't remember my name for a couple of seconds. It was eye opening. It was the first and only time I've ever been mugged in my life. But she didn't take anything, but she did. It's the first time I've ever been assaulted by somebody like that. And the first thing you think is, should I defend myself? No, I'm a man and she's a woman. There's no defense of that. That's just not me. I can't retaliate. I can't do. I'm not made that way. I wasn't raised that way. I was raised the way my folks raised me, and I was raised in the sacred feminine. So I understand what that is, and you do what you're supposed to do, but you don't. I would never hit a woman. I'm sorry, I just can't. I can't do it. I don't want to. It's so that was an eye-opening thing to have happen in Seattle. You know, then I gotta go perform with this knot in the middle of my and try to explain to my audience what happened. It's like she got me good. I was like, because I wasn't expecting and I did not see it coming. And, you know, it's and try to explain that to a policeman is not the easiest thing in the world either. So, when I saw her, I could have pointed her out and said, there she is right there. But she obviously had some emotional issues and a bunch of other things. But one of the things I did get from that is I think she was offended that I was careful about touching her or her touching my lighter. And it was one of those things that is a product of our current environment. I may be homeless. I may be hungry. I may not have anywhere to sleep tonight, but I'm white. And that was an interesting eye-opening thing when that particular thing hits you in the it gives you literally a kick in the head.
Wow.
It's different, you know. It was sobering and enlightening in a lot of ways, you know. So it's like it was literally, what is that concept called where you get a swift kick in the head? Catharsis, or you know, or what is that called? There's an actual name for it, isn't it?
Well, is it deserved retribution? I'm trying to think of which term you were talking.
There's a term for it where you get a swift kick in the head and suddenly have an extraordinary epiphany.
Oh, epiphany. Epiphany, is that?
Yeah, an epiphany is one way to describe it. You know, epiphany is an extended moment of clarity. So it's yeah, she certainly gave me that. I got that in Seattle. Got that one. I mean, you know, here's the thing. My audience could not help laughing at me. I just couldn't do it, man. They were trying to be nice, but it was cracking them up, and it's cracking you up, man. It's hard to do. Yeah. And by the way, don't call me Mr. Bryson. That makes me uncomfortable. This Peobo is fine.
Okay. Peobo, I look forward to seeing you on Friday. We've got some folks who are going to go on Thursday who've got some tickets. Everybody else, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Dr. Peobo Bryson.
I have so much fun at Jazz Alley. I mean, because when things like that happen to you, you share it with the audience. I mean, it's like, I mean, you know, they start making jokes. It's like they can't help it because it is funny. It is, and my assistant is female. And I said, "Well, where were you? I mean, I couldn't beat the woman up. You, where were you?"
Thank you so much for sharing yourself, for sharing your time.
It's been a boatload of fun. Thank you so very much. You're a gentleman and a scholar, and I do remember that, and I do remember watching you guys, and I watched you, and I stayed watching you. I watched you so long because you were that good. You need to know that.
Wow. Thank you. I'm definitely going to share that with my.
Well, do that. And by the way, when Friday come back, make sure you come back and say hello. And if Vicky says anything, tries to keep you from back there, that's my assistant.
Yeah.
Ask her where she was when that lady mugged me. Why were you protecting him? You trying to protect him from me? What about the lady that mugged him? I want you to use it, mate.
I will definitely do that. Thank you again, Peobo.
It's my pleasure.
Congratulations on Saturday. I know that you won't be there to receive it personally. You'll be in Seattle, but what an honor.
That's truly an honor, isn't it?
Yeah, that is. Okay, sir. Thank you again so much. We'll see you.
Have me back when you find a subject that you think I might be able to contribute to it easily.
Oh, well, we're gonna definitely environmental justice. E&J is something I'm gonna hit you up on. I'm taking you up on that. It's critical, it's important, and we need more voices. And a voice like yours will certainly add to that conversation. Thank you, Peobo.
My pleasure.
It's me, Tony B. And that's it. That's all the time that we have. That's gonna do it for the kid. Remember, this is Tony B saying, whether you believe you can or whether you believe you cannot, you are probably right. I'm out.